United States, President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. What a crowd. What a crowd. Well, it's a great place, and I just want to say a very big hello to New Hampshire. You've been fantastic, and we've had tremendous success. It's great to be back in the proud home of the First in the Nation primary, your First in the Nation primary. I wonder who kept you there. Trump. Less than 3 months from now, we're going to win the New Hampshire primary for a third straight time. And we're going to look at all these people up there. I didn't even see you. I didn't see you. Wow, what a group. And we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden. He is a crooked man next November. And we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it great again. We have no choice. We have to. I want to thank our Sullivan County Trump Chair, State Representative Jonathan Stone, wherever you may be, Jonathan. There's so many people. Jonathan, thank you very much. Thank you, Jonathan. New Hampshire Police Association Vice President Timon Ekua. I don't know if that's good or not, but I tell you what, it's the best. Where is he? I'm very pleased to receive the endorsement of Sullivan County Commissioner Joe Osgood. We just got that. Thank you very much. Joe, where's Joe? Joe, thank you. Thank you, Joe. State Representative Kristen Noble, also Jim Kofalt, and the 603 Alliance. I appreciate it. I appreciate the endorsements. We've had a lot of endorsements in New Hampshire. Almost everybody's endorsing us. Now they're coming. The money's flowing in, all those funders. They said, maybe we'll endorse somebody else with our money, and all of a sudden they're calling. They say, President, hi. I said, I thought you were going to be with the Sanctimonious. No way. No way, sir. I'll give you whatever you want, sir. It's an amazing phenomenon when you have great polls, right? But the polls have been great because of people like you. We appreciate it very much, and we should do very well. And they've been very good against crooked Joe Biden. We're leading in every swing state now, every swing state. We're leading by a lot. But as you know, today is Veterans Day, very, very special day. So let's express our eternal gratitude to every veteran in this room. And who's a veteran? Raise your hand, please. A lot of veterans up here, and every proud veteran across the great state of New Hampshire, very, very proud of your heritage, of your state, and of your military. Tremendous, I think proportionally as many in New Hampshire, maybe more than any other state. We're also honored to be joined by the Gold Star family members of Marines who lost their lives in the Afghanistan horrible, horrible withdrawal. I got to know the parents and the relatives of so many of them, and they're incredible people. We spent an evening in Bedminster listening to music, right? We listened to music. Oh, there they are. We had a good time. I said, I'll be with them maybe 15 or 20 minutes. We spent about 3 hours together, right? Looking up in the sky and seeing some beautiful signals coming down, right? The father of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, Darren Hoover. Where are you? You're here someplace? Yeah, there you are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Darren, beautiful Darren, beautiful Darren. The father of Lance Corporal Kareem Nikui and Stephen Nikui, and the mother-in-law of Sergeant Nicole G. We have them all here today. We have them all, Trump 2024. Christy Shamblin. Christy, thank you, Christy, very much. And we'll see you back there or someplace else, okay? But that was a great evening. Wasn't that wild, sort of? They started off very sad, and we finished the evening, and it was a beautiful, beautiful tribute to them. Not to us, to them, right? So thank you very much. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. And we love you all, and we will never forget the sacrifice of Taylor and Nicole and Kareem and the others. And incredible what happened. You don't take the military out first, you take the military out last, right? And about 10 other things that we could name. You don't give up Bagram, and you leave from Bagram, not from the place they left from. Couldn't breathe, it was so tight, so crazy, so horrible what they did. The veterans who have served this nation in uniform, enlisted their lives in defense of their families, our freedom, and our great American flag. And when I'm back in the White House, we're all going back together. They will once again have the loyalty, the respect, and the support that they earned and they so dearly deserve. After years of scandal, betrayal, and neglect under the Obama-Biden administration, I signed the VA Accountability Act. They were trying to get it done for 59 years, and we got it done through Congress, believe it or not, so they can't cancel it out right away, allowing us to tell the sadists and people that didn't work and people that didn't love are wounded and are injured and are hurt. They were terrible. They would treat them terribly, and you couldn't do a damn thing about it. They'd be in there, and they were sadists. They had people. This wasn't prime time for our people, and they weren't able to defend themselves. They had people that would really mistreat our veterans, and we couldn't do a thing about it because of the laws, civil service and otherwise. You couldn't do a thing. They could be as bad as they wanted. They could do everything up to murder. And the way they treated some of these people were just horrible people. You couldn't fire them. And now we looked at them, and we took about 7,000 of them, and we said, "You're fired. Get out, get out, get out." That was a big thing. And by the way, I don't know if you know it, but Biden wants to put them all back. Can you believe it? And these were the bad ones. These were the bad ones. We don't want to do that. We don't want to fire. We replace them with great people. They want to put them all back. All those people that are sickos, they want to put them all back. I also signed, about 59 years they've been trying to get this one, VA Choice, which made it permanent so that the veterans can get medical care at the private health care provider of their choice, so that you go in and you're not feeling well, and many people became terminally ill waiting. They'd wait for 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6, 7 months, and by the time they got to see the doctor, they were terminally ill. They could have been taken care of very quickly, very easily. Preventative care, the best thing about that is get it early. They got it early, but when they got to the doctor, it would be many months in many cases. So if you waited more than 1 day, we let you go to a private doctor, any private doctor. We paid the cost. We negotiated with them. We had fixed prices. I said, because those doctors, they know how to make money, don't they? Some of them are money machines, and some are just really good doctors and really love everyone in this room and all of your relatives. And what happened is we made a deal that nobody said could be made, and we got it passed in Congress, believe it or not. The Republican Congress did a great job with both of these, the accountability and this. And now you go, and if you have to wait online for more than a day, you go to a private doctor, you pick the private doctor, and they take care of you, and you live. And believe it or not that this was why I did it, because it wasn't, but you save a lot of money. It's actually a lot cheaper than letting somebody get sicker and sicker and just end up dying a horrible death. And people that were pretty sick but not that bad are better, and it's been an incredible system. I understand they're trying to dismantle it under the Biden administration, and you would know better than I, but they're trying to dismantle that under the Biden administration. But under the Trump administration, we live by the motto, promises made, promises kept. I made that promise. And there is no more solemn pledge than a promise to America's veterans. The veterans are incredible people. So many people in this room. Unfortunately, with crooked Joe Biden in the White House, our veterans are once again being backstabbed and betrayed by their government. Crooked Joe gutted our historic VA reforms and fought to reinstate thousands and thousands, as I just said, of fired, horrible employees. These are horrible employees that when we terminated them, we said, get out of here, and they got out, but now they have a little bit of a lobby going, and they even want back pay. They treated our veterans badly, and it looks like it's going to cost up to $200 million in back pay for people that were treating our veterans badly. But instead of wasting $200 million on the worst VA employees, and when I say bad, they're bad, when I'm president, I'll ask Congress to take up every penny of that money and add some to it, because we're going to build in your great state a brand new, beautiful VA hospital right here in New Hampshire. We're going to build the most beautiful hospital. And it's going to be, you're just about, I hate to say this, you're just about the only state that doesn't have a VA hospital, but yours is going to be better than any of them. Well, I'll get involved in the real estate world. We'll start looking at the corners, and we'll say, we'll build a better one for half the price. Better than anybody, but you'll have it. And that's already on the drawing board. You're going to end up with your own hospital, which you really need. People have to travel for hundreds of miles to go and get to a hospital, a VA hospital. I'll also make it a personal mission to completely eradicate veterans' homelessness in America. We were doing a great job with it, and then a terrible thing happened. We were doing so well with it, and then these guys get in, They treat the illegal aliens just pouring into our country better than they treat our veterans. I mean, they stay in the best hotels. I don't even stay in those hotels. I say, don't stay there. I tell my people, don't stay there. They're too expensive. They say, we can't, sir. They're being occupied by illegal aliens. Those owners are making a lot of money, but it's just crazy. We don't treat the veterans. We don't treat our veterans right. In the past 3 years, Biden has spent over $1 billion to put up illegal aliens in hotels, some of the most luxurious hotels in the country. Meanwhile, we have 33,000 homeless American veterans. Can you believe it? And we were really alleviating that problem, and now they've given that totally up. Totally up. It's terrible. On day one, I'll sign an executive order to cut off Biden's spigot of money for the shelter and transport of illegal aliens, and we will redirect a large portion of the savings to provide shelter and treatment for our own homeless veterans. We love our veterans. We've got to take care of our veterans here. They're among our greatest people. Crooked Joe puts bureaucrats first and illegal aliens first. I will put veterans first and America first every single time. In addition to being Veterans Day, today is also Armistice Day. Did you know that? Armistice Day. And this is an incredible number when you hear these numbers, but the anniversary of the end of World War I, a conflict that wrecked the entire world, really. I mean, large parts of the entire world, and killed over 20 million people. Did you know that? 20 million people. 20 million people! And think of it, we have a guy in the White House who can't put two sentences together, who couldn't find his way off this stage. And actually, he would be confused, because I think my audience behind me might be bigger than my audience in front of me. He would be saying, what do I do? Where am I? He'd be saying, it is sort of a strange speaking menu. I'm like in the middle of a room and I'm looking back here. But he would say, what's this? You ever see he ends a speech? He has no clue how to get off. You got to stare there. You got to jump off the front, do anything. Just don't walk into a wall. He walks into walls. But this is the guy that we have negotiating with Putin and, right? And President Xi of China and Kim Jong-un, who won't even talk to him. This is who we have in charge of nuclear. But this anniversary should remind us all of why it is so important to once again have a president who will deliver peace through strength. That's what we had. We had all peace. We had peace. We had a great period of time. World War III has never been closer, in my opinion, than it is right now. And it wasn't at all close. We were never going to have it. 3 years ago, we had everything under perfect control. Russia was treating us with respect. They would have never, ever gone into Ukraine. China would have never been talking about Taiwan. I mean, we had this, the whole thing was going really good. You know, if you ask me, when he pulled out, the way he pulled out of Afghanistan, Putin wouldn't have done it anyway. But the way he pulled out of Afghanistan, it said, let's go. And, you know, everyone lost respect. We pulled out as cowards. It was a surrender. It was truly a surrender. We gave up $85 billion worth of equipment, these 13 great lives, and we had 38 people were obliterated. 38, they don't talk about them. They never talk about them. Missing legs, one case, 2 legs, 1 arm, and a half an arm, and just obliterated. And nobody mentions those poor people. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. The people in the front row that I've gotten to know, incredible families, are just torn apart by gross incompetence. And I tell you, it's so sad to see. It would have been so easy. We had something going. We called up the head of the Taliban. I told the story to But I called up the head of the Taliban. I said, the press got on me for that. Look at all the press. Oh, it's so nice. The fake news. Fake news. Fake news. But I spoke to the head of the Taliban, Abdul. And then I told him, Abdul, you can't do this. You can't. You keep shooting us. So they killed a lot of soldiers, snipers during the Obama/Biden. I don't know, did they ever call them? But they killed a lot of people with the snipers, a lot of people, period. And I said, you can't do it. Anyway, since I had a rough conversation with him, since that conversation, we didn't lose 18 months it was, we didn't lose one soldier. There wasn't one soldier shot at. 18 months. Even Biden admitted that. He said, well, I will say one thing, under the Trump policy, they didn't lose any soldiers. When he said that, his people went crazy. Don't say that. Why? But he did say that once. So I think we'll have to wheel out that statement. But it's true. Look, for 18 months, think of it, 18 months we didn't lose one soldier. And then we had a rigged election, and then the result was exactly that. By the way, Hillary's allowed to say things about elections, and every Democrat's allowed to say. But if we say it, we get indicted. They indict us if we say, and in our case, it was true. It was a rigged election. It was stolen. And because of that, we have unhappy people in the front row, and we have a lot of other unhappy people. Because of that, we have inflation, and we have high taxes, and we have high interest rates, and you can't buy a home, and you can't refinance your home, and you can't sell your home, and you have energy at the highest level it's ever been. You were energy independent 3 years ago. You had $1.87 a gallon gasoline, and now you have $5 gasoline. But I stand before you today as the only candidate in either party who can make this promise. I will prevent, 100% prevent, World War III. You're going to end up in World War III. You look at what's going on right now in the Middle East and Ukraine, and you add it up, and we have somebody that has no clue what the hell is going on. You're going to end up in World War III because of this. No reason for it. Millions of people will die. I know the players. I know the job. I alone in this primary have borne the burden of having troops in harm's way as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces. And the neocons, globalists, and warmongers and the race, they like to talk tough. Oh, we're going to go here. We're going to go there. Millions of people die, and we didn't do that. Yet we knocked the hell out of ISIS. You know, I defeated ISIS totally and brought them back. But these people are way over their heads. Biden is over their head. I mean, Biden, in all fairness to the Republican candidates, Biden, if you call that, look, what kind of a candidate? They're losing by like 60, 70 points each. Even they agree I shouldn't go to the debates. I mean, the other day, two of them said, well, if I was in his position, I don't think I'd debate either. But how about this guy, Asa Hutchinson, right? He's been at zero for the last 3 months. Now, do you think he's going to surge to 90? I call him Ada Hutchinson. No, he's been at zero for the last 3 months. He didn't make the last debate because he had zero. How about that? You have a large population voting. He got absolutely no votes. So he gets no votes, and he stays. And today, I just heard his campaign manager quit. Why did he quit? Because I've been telling the guy to quit, and he won't quit. I think this, if he ever made it, it would be the single greatest comeback in the history of politics or any other event. You could say politics or any other event. If he made it, it's only because he'd be the only one left on earth. And he's a nasty guy, you know. He talks like he's terrible. He's a lousy governor, too. To me, peace through strength is not just a political slogan. It's actually a moral duty. And it's my commitment to you, the American people, but you will not have World War III. You know, we were respected when I was president. We were respected by China. You know, one story, a quick story. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter like a lot, do you? So much more exciting. So much more. But the head of Hungary, a very tough, strong guy, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of him? Probably, you know, considered very powerful within his country and outside of his country. Not exactly loved by some of the European nations because he does his thing. He didn't allow millions of people to invade his country. He allowed nobody to invade, zero. He had nobody. So he doesn't have crime, and he doesn't have the problems that they're having in other countries where millions of people are allowed to go in. But they were interviewing him 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding and imploding. And he said, it's very simple. He should immediately resign, and they should replace him with President Trump, who kept the world safe. And I'm not just talking the United States. China respected him. Russia respected him. North Korea respected him. And he used another word other than respect, too. He said fear. But I don't want to use that word. Of course, it's probably better than respect if you get right down to it, right? But he said everybody was fine. We had we have none of these problems. You didn't have inflation. You didn't have these problems 3 years ago. And then you look at this. We had the greatest economy in history. Now we have a mess. You'll end up in the Great Depression. And I'll tell you the one thing I don't want to be. I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. I always said, I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. And the way they're going with their stupid energy policies, you know, you pay the highest in this state. You pay the highest energy costs anywhere in the United States. You know that? You ought to talk to your governor about that. You ought to talk to your governor, who right now I don't think he could be elected dog catcher. Here's a guy, and you may have a couple of fans, but I doubt it. Here's a guy, could have been a senator, would have been greatly helpful if he could have been. He's got the heritage of the name. He used to like his father. His father used to treat me very nice. He was actually nasty, and then when I won, he went from one of the worst to one of the best. When I won, his father was great. Before that, he was nasty. You know, he was a Bush guy. I mean, one of those things. They tend to be a little bit bad. Don't get a lot of the right things done. But his father was very, very good to me. And this guy, he could have been a senator. But you know he ran for president, right? He just didn't have the guts to announce it. He ran for president, and he was mired at 1% for a few months, making really nasty, he's a nasty guy, making nasty comments. And then he decided that he wasn't going to run. So he said, well, I decided not to run. Well, he ran for like 4 months. He was running. But again, it takes courage. You know, say what you want about these other people. Some of them shouldn't be running because it's a joke. But you know, say what you want about them. It takes courage to run. It does. It takes courage. It's not an easy thing to do. But this guy could have been a senator, would have made a tremendous difference. Instead, they lost that race by a very close race. But they lost that race. But he could have been so easy. He could have been there because he's not presidential material. And he could have been there for a long time, and it would have made a big difference in the Senate. But he didn't do that. And people have to get, the Republican Party, they have to get unified, and they have to get smart. They have to get smart. Because say what you want about the Democrats. They have horrible policy. You know, let's have open borders where millions and millions of people come in illegally into our country from prisons and from mental institutions and terrorists. Think of their policies. All electric cars. They don't go far. You know, where you can't get out of New Hampshire in an electric car. Where are you going? I'm going to Massachusetts. Well, you better get yourself a gas turbine because this car's not going to get you there. Well, you could if you stop about 4 times. No, I want to go to Massachusetts, darling. I'm sorry, you can't do it. You're about, 12 miles away. The whole thing is crazy. You know, they want to also, but we have a little time. You know, this is a nice day. You screwed up my whole day by putting this in the middle of the day. So you can't do anything in the morning because you don't have time. You can't do anything in the evening. Although tonight, I'm going to the UFC fight at Madison Square Garden. Dana White. You know Dana White, the great Dana White. There's a guy I'd like to make my defense chief. I wouldn't call him my defense chief. I'd call him my offense chief. He'd be my offense chief. But he's done a great job. But no, I'm going there tonight, so at least you left me enough time for that. But, it's really a tribute. Here we are on a beautiful day. beautiful day in New Hampshire, and you have a crowd, and you have thousands of people outside that couldn't get in. I said, did you put up a screen for them? They said, no. Now, you don't care about that, but they do, okay? You got the better real estate. But as president, I will restore American strength, power, and prestige, and I will make your country safe. I will be the peacemaker. You know, the peacemaker is okay. Hillary Clinton, during one of the debates, she said, look at him, look at him. He's a warmonger. She's the one that always wanted war. It's the strangest people want war. You look at her. What the hell's war? I remember when LeBron James endorsed her. It was the greatest endorsement I've ever seen. Because he got on stage and she got up and she was like here, around here. And I said, that's not looking good. That's not looking good. I love that endorsement. She can have them. Under Biden, our adversaries see the weakness and the foolishness of America's leaders, the stupidity, actually. And, you know, like this whole electric car mandate, can you believe it? The cars, they're too expensive. I say very easily defined. It's so simple, though. I said, let's do a little bit more sophistication. They're too expensive, and they don't go far. What else can you say? You know, it's true. When President Xi sits across the table from Crooked Joe, can you imagine President Xi's like central casting? There's nobody in Hollywood that can play the role of President Xi. The look, the strength, the voice. We will begin immediately negotiation. And I say, loosen up. I say, loosen up. I had a great relationship with him until COVID. Then I said, that's the end of that. But I did. It's good to have a good relationship with Putin and Xi and all these people. They have lots of nuclear weapons. And Kim Jong-un I had a good relationship with. He's a tough, smart guy. You know, when I call these people smart, the press always says, he said he was smart. I'm supposed to say they're not intelligent people. President Xi in China controls 1.4 billion people with an iron hand, no drug problems. You know why they have no drug problems? Death penalty for the drug dealers. Death penalty, right? You want to solve your drug problem? You have to institute a meaningful death penalty for drug dealers. A drug dealer, and you, by the way, you have it worse than any other state proportionately. I don't understand New Hampshire, for whatever reason, you have a worse drug problem per capita than any other state. Nobody's explained that. Maybe you talk to the governor about that also, by the way. Why is that? You have the worst drug problem per capita in the entire nation. You have an unbelievable fire department and police department. They do such a good job. They spend most of their time saving people from overdoses and other things. Your police here and your fire here are incredible, I have to tell you. I met a lot of them backstage. I said, you know, they spend a lot of their time. They spend almost most of their time on that, but they're incredible, the job. Yeah, you ought to talk to your governor about that because that's something that something should happen. But you want to really stop it. You know, when I was in the White House, I would set up blue ribbon committees. And I'd get socialites. Everybody wanted to be on committees, right? You know, they'd call in from Park Avenue, from Fifth Avenue, New York. Oh, I'd love to be on the committee. Any committee. Well, we're going to put you on a blue ribbon committee on stopping drugs and drug abuse and stopping the caravans from pouring. Oh, what's a caravan? They had no idea. And they'd sit around, very prestigious people, and they'd talk for a little while, and then they'd get onto society and social and where are you going to be tonight? I'm going to be dining at Le Cirque tonight. But, you know, they go into, and it's not the way. You can't do it. The only thing they understand is force. And if you want to stop your problem, and you have the single biggest problem in the country from what I see in New Hampshire, I don't know why, proportionately, you need the death penalty. If you give the death penalty to drug dealers, you will have no more problem. You will have no more problem. You know, we cut it down 21%, and that was great. I did that without doing this. When I was in China, and I told this story a couple of times, maybe you've heard it, but I was with President Xi, strong man, and I said, you don't have a drug problem, do you? No, we don't have no drug problem. We don't have drug. He looked at me like, what the hell? Of course I don't. 1.4, think of it, 1.4 billion people, no drug problem. I said, what do you attribute that to? He said, quick trial. I said, quick trial? What's quick trial? We give quick trial. We give very quick trial to drug dealers If somebody's selling drugs, we give them it's a one-day trial. They give them a trial, and if they're guilty, which I would say probably 120% of the time they're guilty approximately 120% of the time. But they execute, and they have the death penalty for drug dealers. So now if you're a drug dealer, you'll say, you know, I think I'm going to take a pass on this particular country. Let's go to the United States, where they don't even give you a summons, all right? They don't do anything. And that's why we have the problem. If you want to do the real job, and a lot of people, I just don't know if our country's ready for it, but what could be worse than losing, I think, 350,000? You know, you don't hear those numbers. They always say 100,000. They've been saying 100,000 people for the last, 15 years, would you say? It's 100,000. Oh, yes, we lose 100. That's a lot of people. That you take your largest stadium and you fill it up twice, right? No good. But it's 100,000, they say. But even if it was 100, but it's not. It's 350,000 people you're losing, and you're destroying your homes. You ever see what happens to a family, a father, a mother, when they lose their son or their daughter to drugs? That family is destroyed. 10 years later, they're destroyed. It can never be the same. And these people do it. The average drug dealer kills 500 people a year. Think of it. The average drug dealer over the course of his or her life will kill and I think that's a low number, but they say kills 500 people a year. And they don't mention the families that are destroyed to go along with their children, and seniors and everything else that are killed. I mean, a lot of people are killed, but you think of it in terms of young people. But the average one kills 500, so why wouldn't you do the death penalty? It's actually humane if you think about it. Why wouldn't you do it? As Singapore does the death penalty, they have no drugs whatsoever, no drugs whatsoever. Other countries do them. Many countries do it, but they have no drugs whatsoever. And we're becoming a drug haven. You know, China many years ago was being taken over by much smaller countries because they were all drugged out on the poppy fields, the drugs, heroin, different drugs, but they were all drugged out. The nation was drugged out, and then along came a very powerful leader. You know who that is? And he said, no more. And from that time, pretty much until now, they've been strong, but they were all drugged out, and our nation's becoming that way, okay? Our nation's becoming that way. You look at our nation, it's that you almost say, how does it survive when so many people are absolutely sick from drugs and drug overdose and all of the things that go with it? Our nation, remember, China was taken over by many different forces, much smaller, much weaker than them. Now they're strong. But our nation's not so much different. We have a large percentage of our people are drugged out and won't help us in terms of making America great again. We have to help them, and we should help them. But we could stop this scourge if we would do it properly. And just out of curiosity, it's interesting. We're all friends. The death penalty sounds harsh. Thank you very much. But the death penalty, it's funny. They say, oh, he's conservative. It's not that I'm conservative. I have common sense. I want to have a border. We want to have free elections. We want to have low interest rates. We want to have school choice. We don't want to have men play in women's sports. How about that one? You see a field hockey sport the other day, and they had a man went in and he hit a shot so hard it knocked the girls, the whole thing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. The thing was going like 3 times what they would expect. And there are many, many stories. The weightlifting records are being beaten by hundreds of pounds. The swimming, they're setting records. And it's actually very demeaning to women. And the amazing thing is that women and people, even on the teams, they don't want to talk about it because these radical left people have everybody spooked. They indicted me because I complained about an election. Do you notice any difference in my tone? I don't think so. No, I've gotten even more so because it was a crooked election. And look what happened to our country. Look what happened to our country. So I was just going to ask you, so death penalty sounds very bad, and who wants a death penalty? But you're never going to solve the problem. Never. Your blue ribbon committees and all of these crazy things, even if they got tough with law enforcement, that's not going to solve the problem. Not even close. So let's have a vote. Who would be in favor of the death penalty? Now, wait, don't go yet, knowing that it will solve the problem. It's not like, oh, gee, do you think it will? No, they'll head to another country, they'll do something. But that's what they do. They head from China, they left for New York City and other places, okay? So let's go, death penalty, no death penalty. So who would be in favor of the death penalty to solve? And just out of curiosity, who would not be in favor? Because it's harsh. Who would not be? Okay, I can understand it. Look, I can understand, but I see one hand out of thousands of people. Are you a liberal? No. Okay, I understand it. It's a tough thing, and you know what happens? They can get it wrong too. They can get it wrong, and they can abuse the system. I've been abused. A lot of the people in this room have been abused. They can abuse the system. But I see one hand. Okay, so let me do that again, because that's right. Who would be opposed to bringing in the death penalty? You would? It's okay. Seriously, don't be afraid. Nobody's going to. We're not the Democrats where they're going to put you in jail because you speak up. Who would be opposed? I see three hands. I see one hand of a person down there. She's going like this, meaning she doesn't know, right? She sort of likes it, but it's a big step. So I see 3.5, okay? How about back here? Who'd be opposed? Who'd be opposed? All right, so you're probably talking 1%. You know, I mean, if you think about it, that's pretty amazing. And it's a real poll. Now, the government, if they did that poll, they'd charge $1 million for it. It wouldn't be as accurate. You know that, right? We did it in about 2 minutes. But if you want to solve the drug problem in the United States, really solve it, you have to bring back the death penalty for drug dealers. That's what you have to do. And you'll solve it. So whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or independent, if you don't want your sons and daughters drafted to fight and die in distant foreign lands that many of you have never even heard of, if you don't want your nation wrecked, if you don't want your economy destroyed, if you don't want American blood and American treasure squandered in a needless global war, you see it, they never end. They go for years, 21, 22 years. In Afghanistan, think of it, 21 years. Too bad it carried out that long. We were going to get out of Afghanistan. We were coming out of Afghanistan. You know, I'm the one that got it down to 2,500 troops. But I was going to keep Bagram. You know, Bagram is one of the biggest air bases in the world. Cost us billions of dollars years ago, billions and billions of dollars. Has the biggest, most powerful runways, meaning the thickest concrete of any place. I think it's 8 feet. You know, I used to go, when I was building, I'd like to go 4 inches, and I'd negotiate. Maybe we can do it for 3.5. These things are many feet thick, most powerful runways and everything else. And they gave it back. They gave it all back. But you have to put people that know what to do. And if you want to get back to where we have to go, you have to vote for a gentleman named Donald J. Trump. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. We'll turn it around fast. You know, somebody said, oh, but he'll be there for 4 years. He'll be there for 4 years. And somebody else could be there for 8 years. Let me tell you, 8 years. If it takes 8 years, you don't want that person, okay? I said that. As soon as I said that, they never used that line of crap anymore. They said, I can be there for 8 years and I'll solve. And then they realized that I said, how about 6 months? Because most of this will be solved in 6 months. Some of it sooner. We'll be drilling a lot sooner than that. For 4 straight years under the Trump administration, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. He would have never gone in. I mean, I did it through osmosis. It was safe. He was never going to go in. And I kept the whole world safe. It's like Viktor Orban said, great, smart, tough man, but a real leader. He said he kept the whole world was safe. We didn't have any of these problems. Think of it. Go back 3 years. We didn't have any of these problems. And we had the greatest economy in our history. I completely obliterated the ISIS territorial caliphate. Completely wiped out ISIS. And it was supposed to take, to wipe out ISIS, you know that. It was supposed to take years. I was told years. And I went to Iraq. I met with the generals. I found a couple of generals I thought were fantastic. I was told it would take 4 years, and we maybe couldn't do it. And I said, how long, General? You know who the general is, right? Raisin Cane, General Raisin Cane. I said, I love you. If your name is Raisin Cane, that's what I'm looking for. I want General Raisin Cane working for me. I love Raisin Cane. But I said to him, what's your name, General? He said, my name is Cane, sir, Cane. He said, what's your first name, Raisin? I said, Raisin? That's what they call me, sir, Raisin Cane. I said, is that because you raise cane? I guess that's what they mean, sir. I said, General, I think I'm going to like you. Sure. And I said to him, how long will it take you to knock out ISIS? I went there. I actually flew there. Extreme bravery when I did that because I had to fly in Air Force One. We had to darken our windows. They said, sir, we're flying over enemy territory. Think of it, we're there for 21 years with the best equipment in the world that we still have to darken our windows to fly in. But I figured, let's do it. And they turned off all the lights inside and outside of the plane. I went up to the cockpit and I saw people that were better looking than Tom Cruise, okay? Because, when you fly the president, they have the best. They take that best of the Air Force, the best of them. They take only the best. And these guys are like central casting. They could be movie stars. In fact, if I was ever an agent, I'd just hire these people. I'd make a fortune. Boom, crew cut. And I see the captain. I say, how you doing, Captain? I'm doing fine, sir. We'll be there, sir, in about 20 minutes. I said, Captain, I don't see any lights outside. I don't see any lights in your cockpit. I don't see anything. Sir, we're just fine, sir. And he's surrounded by people that looked as good as him. I said, am I in a movie? No, we don't have people like, they don't look like that in Hollywood. I say, he's Tom Cruise. I'm not insulting short people. I said, this guy's Tom Cruise, but much taller, okay? Then he goes, sir, we'll be there in 15 minutes. I say, Captain, that sounds great to me. And I'm going, because I haven't seen, there's nothing. And there are a lot of people back there. They have operators, they have this, they have engineers. I never saw so many people on a plane before operating a plane, but it's Air Force One. So, you say, that's okay. That's not our big problem. We have other problems. But they're all really fantastic, and they're really the top of the line, top in the world. So we're coming in, we're 15 minutes away, and he then says, sir, we'll be 10 minutes, and we'll be landing. I say, I still don't see any lights at all. And I do that. I like to sit with pilots and land planes. I have a nice plane, and I sit sometimes with a pilot. It's beautiful to watch. And so now we're 5 minutes away, and you have a machine that has a voice of a machine, but it actually sounds like a human, but the most beautiful voice you've ever heard. And it talks to you as you're landing. It tells you what's going on. Very standard. It's, the highest grade equipment. Then I hear 1,000. That means 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet's a big plane like that, that's very low. That's like a 10-story building. That's not very high, right? And we're flying over like desert. I hear 1,000, 900, 800, as it's going down like this. And everything's fine, it's going down, but I don't see any lights. Usually you see lights, you see LaGuardia, you see Kennedy Airport, and you see lights in the distance, and you think, isn't that a beautiful sight? Well, we're going down, and I didn't see a damn light. They have all the lights turned. And they said, 600, 500. It's an incredible voice, a computer voice, but it's so perfect. 400. I say, Captain, are we okay? I'm sort of taking I'm trying to pretend I'm fine. But I don't see a light, and I got these guys, and they're up there, and they're confident as, sir, we're just fine, sir. So we'll be landing in about a minute, sir. A minute. Goes 300, 200. There's not a light. It's dark. And I think there wasn't even a moon out that night. 200, 100. I'm 100 feet above the ground. I see nothing. And then you hear, pwah, pwah, pwah. You know, we land. I say, it's a miracle. And you know what I said? I said to my staff right after I landed, am I allowed, because I showed great bravery, I thought, am I allowed to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor? I want to give myself because I showed great bravery. He said, give me a towel. Give me a towel. Oh. No, I showed great bravery. No, they said that wouldn't be a good idea. I'm only kidding. You know what happens now? The press will take that and they'll say, he decided. I had that, actually. I told this story once. I said, the press said, he wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor. So you can't be too sarcastic with these people because they know we're having a little fun. And if you can have fun nowadays, it's not a lot of fun. But the press actually reported me for saying I wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor. Can you believe it? For myself. Because they're fake news. Oh, yeah, they were. I got a couple of beauties up there. That story will be told tomorrow. And the highlight of the story is that I demanded the Congressional Medal of Honor, I guarantee it. So when you read it, just go, fake news. Anyway. But I came out, and the door's open, and I'm greeted by it's good-looking group of people. A staff sergeant, a drill sergeant. He looked like a piece of granite. A general, another general, a colonel, group of people on the bottom. I go down, and that's when I met General Raisin Kane, and he was the boss. And they all said, great to meet you. I shook their hands. Sir, would you like to rest? You know, it's a long trip, like 20 hours. I said, no, I don't have to rest. Now, if Biden were president at that time, I'd say, you know what he'd do? He'd rest for about 4 days. Then they'd turn around. Did you meet the president? No, he was sleeping the whole time. He spent 3 days sleeping, and then he turned around and went back and went immediately into the beautiful bedroom of Air Force One and went to sleep. This is not what we're supposed to have for a president. So I went down. He said, sir, would you like to rest? I said, I don't need to rest. Let's go. So we start a meeting. And I said, how do we defeat ISIS? We've been fighting them for 21 years. We have the best equipment in the world. They hardly have equipment. They are great fighters, by the way, great fighters. They're natural fighters. That's what they do. For 2,000 years, they fight. They come down from the mountain. They can live in a crevice in the mountain. Don't forget, you know, you look at what they've won. It's amazing. But these are great fighters. How do we defeat these guys? And we said we can do it. I said, how long would it take you? Now, I was told 4 years by a couple of our television generals in Washington. Is Millie a beauty? But I was told it would take 4 years. Sir, it will take 4 years. Very big effort. So I asked General Raisin Kane. I said, General, how long would it take to do it? Sir, we can do it in 4 weeks, and I think we'll have time left over. I said, wait a minute. For years, not me, everybody. You were hearing 4, 5, 6 years, and very hard to do. And now I have a guy sitting there that truly is central casting. And I'm sitting here, and he's saying I can do it in 4 weeks, and he'll have time left over. So I say, how do you do that? He says, well, sir, when they came in from Washington, you know Mattis, General Mattis, General Milley, real beauties. General Milley is the one that decided to take the soldiers out first, okay? General Milley is the one that said, let's leave $85 billion worth of equipment behind because it's cheaper than taking it out. It's cheaper than putting a tank of nice, clean fuel in the airplane and flying it to Pakistan or flying it all the way home. It's cheaper to leave it there. We left them brand new planes, brand new helicopters, thousands of night goggles, better than the ones we have. These are brand new, never used, in boxes. 700,000 rifles, 700,000 rifles, 70,000 vehicles, trucks, cars, many of them armor-plated, many of them costing over $1 million apiece, armor-plated. And this is what we left. So I said to him, said, General, So how can you do it so quickly? I've been told it would take years to. He said, well, sir, when they came in from Washington, we have to obey. They're our superiors, so we're not allowed to give our ideas. I said, that doesn't sound like a good system. He says, but that's the military system. They would come in and they would tell us what to do, even though we're here. And when you think about it, it's incredible because the people we're talking about are incompetent and the people I'm talking about are unbelievable soldiers. And the reason, if you'd like me to finish the story, the reason I tell you this is that we have an unbelievable military, okay? We just have some really bad leaders. So I think it's an important story, but I said, so General, how are you going to do it in 4 weeks and they can't do it in 4 years? He says, well, sir, when they came in, they would only use this base, and this base is very far away. It's a big base. It's a main base. We gave it to China, by the way. You know who has that base right now? China. Because when they left, China has the base. And the reason we should have kept it, not for Afghanistan, we should have kept it because it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons, right? So we give it up. How stupid are these people? So anyway, so General Raisin Cain goes, no, sir, we can do it in 4 weeks. We can do it very quickly. I said, so what was the problem? Well, sir, they came in. I disagreed, but it's not for me to say. They came in, sir, and they said very strongly, we can only use the one base. Now, the one base is very far away. By the time we got there to the site, we had to turn around to refuel, come back. So they were going here. They had about two seconds, and now head back. Let's head back. And that's what we had. But we have portable, what we call portable bases, sir. We have a lot of portable bases. We have 9 of them at least already up. And if we use our portable bases, I said, why didn't they? They said, well, they're located in some countries and they would consider it not politically correct. But, sir, nobody would know where the hell these planes are coming from. I said, that's probably right. She said they're politically correct. They want to be politically correct, so they didn't do it. So they had 7 to 9 bases. So he said, so what I'd do is very simple. I'd leave from here, but this is the least important. I'd supply from here, but I'd go out to all of these auxiliary or portable bases, and I'd hit them from the left. And, sir, I'd hit them from the right, and I'd hit them from up above, and I'd hit them from right under their ass, sir. And I'd hit them from so many directions, they wouldn't know what the hell is happening. And, sir, it'll be over very quickly. I said, I have to think about this because nobody's ever told me this. Nobody's ever told me this. I said, I'll speak to you. I went back to Washington, and I spoke to him on Monday or Tuesday. I said, you still feel you can do that, General? Absolutely, sir. I said, go ahead and do it. And he knocked the hell out of him, and he knocked him out. Knocked him out. Less than 4 weeks. And then I had to give an order because there were a lot of them that were cornered. He said, sir, we got cornered rats. I said, what do you mean rats? They're human beings. Hey, they're not human beings, sir. These are bad people, sir. These are really bad people. I said, so what are you suggesting? He said, well, you let me know when the job will be completely finished. I said, well, that's a lot of people you're asking me about. You know, that's never been my thing. I build beautiful buildings. I do other things, right? He said, that's never really been. It's a lot of people. He said, they're not people, sir. So here's what you do. Take those gorgeous F-16s and fly over them for a while. Keep flying over them. Get those F-24s, F-22s. You fly over them. And maybe you'll scare the hell out of them and they'll surrender. They won't surrender, sir. They don't know what the surrender is. They don't know what a white flag is, sir. They don't surrender. Whether you like them or not, those son of a bitches, they will never, ever surrender. And I say, so what do you think? I said, here's what you do. Spend a little time flying back and forth. Let's see. He said, yes, sir, I'll do that, sir. And he did. He calls me up. Sir, what do you want me to do? Well, did it have any impact? Absolutely none, sir. They don't care. They're prepared to die. I said, all right, you have to finish it off. He finished it off. And you know what? We got rid of ISIS, 100% of ISIS. And then I took out al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. So I knocked out al-Baghdadi, and then I also ended the life of the world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani, the father of the roadside bomb. Every one of you, and respectfully, I love you, but you too. He was the father of the roadside bomb, the bomb. And he made them bigger, bigger, bigger. They kept getting bigger, bigger, and more sophisticated. 94% of the people that died or had legs or arms or faces obliterated, removed from their body, 94% was because of Soleimani. And I took him out too. Bigger than any terrorist in the world. I went to Walter Reed on numerous occasions because to see the soldiers. And I've never been, I would always say I could have never been a doctor because I can't handle that stuff, right? You know, I'm not, if I see somebody with a little finger, little blood, I say, huh? And yet I was able to handle it so incredibly well because when I looked, I don't know, it was a different feeling of love, something, but I would go a lot. And I'd see these soldiers come back so badly wounded, so badly. By the way, the doctors at that hospital are unbelievable, what they can do. But, you know, some of these lives, the lives are so bad. One young man, he went to Princeton University. Princeton, he was a great student. He was actually, you know, family's well-to-do, I understand. He wanted to spend some time as a life experience. And he went to Princeton, and he got blown to pieces in his last day. He lost both legs, both arms, and most of his face. And I walked into the room, and his parents were there grieving. I've never seen anything like it. They couldn't believe it. You know, this kid was like this perfect, handsome. They have a picture of him by the bed. You know, you see him, and he's so badly, horribly hurt. And they have a picture of him by the bed. Beautiful, handsome guy. I'd love to look like that. I said, God, I'd love to look like that. I told his parents, I said, boy, this is tough, huh? He said, we never thought this was possible. He wanted this before going to work on Wall Street. He was going to do this as a life experience. You know, I thought, life experience. Another one was a great young man. He was unbelievable with the roadside bombs. He was the best guy at finding them. And he had, you know, we had great equipment for it. We had the long, I don't know if you've ever seen them with the long rods, and they have, on the end, they have tremendous equipment, computerized in every way, but the most incredible equipment. And he had a half a day to go, and he said, hey, I'll go with you guys into the field. And he went into the field. He said, I'll go with you. He's got a half a day. He's coming home. Got a half a day, but he's friends with all these great soldiers, great people. And so he spent his last half day there. They're going out and they're looking for roadside bombs, and he got the hell blown out of him. And like you wouldn't even believe. Honestly, a few years before that, you could never save these soldiers. What they do, what they can do to keep people alive today is so different than it was just a few years ago. It's incredible. In some cases, maybe it's not even that good a thing because the lives are so horribly destroyed. But he went in and he was searching, and what happened is Soleimani all of his bombs were being detected by brilliant young guys and brave guys like this. And he came up with a new bomb, even bigger, but more importantly, every single ounce of that bomb was made out of plastic. So the metal detector only detects metal. Every ounce of that thing, big, was made out of what's called hardened plastic. And it doesn't have to be that strong. Even the screws are plastic. They showed the screws are made out of plastic. Everything's plastic. So he's looking for metal. First day, they put him in. And he got blown up. Most of his friends died. And think of it, he could have left. He didn't have to go out with them that day. He went out and he lost his life. And that was Soleimani that did that. The king, the father of the roadside bomb, the biggest terrorist in the world. Nobody close. I mean, Osama bin Laden wasn't even in that league. And he's killed so many people, not only soldiers, a lot of soldiers, but destroyed the lives of so many people. And so many people are walking around now without legs or without arms because we took him out. We got him. We got him. The Prime Minister of Pakistan told me, when I heard, and he was a friend of mine, very handsome guy, was a great athlete, and Khan, Prime Minister, and I was with him, he said, I've won many awards. You know, he was the #1 cricket player in the world, or just about #1. He was like, take your best athlete, take a Tom Brady. He was like the Tom Brady of cricket, which over there is the biggest. They don't know about football. They know cricket. Everything's cricket. They have stadiums. They built a stadium in India that holds 138,000 people. It's big. And he was just about the best player. Celebrated all over the world, but he retired. He ran for office. He won as a great celebrity and athlete. He said, when I heard that Soleimani was killed, he said, I believe it was the biggest day of my life. And he didn't say happiness or sadness. He said, I've never had an event so big as that. And when I heard that he was killed, he was feared all over the Middle East, feared. He was, as you know, from Iran. And it really set them back a long time. I believe that the mullahs, I believe that the leaders of Iran actually were happy about it because they were afraid of him, very afraid of him. I believe, I may be wrong about that, but the prime minister told me that when I heard that Soleimani was killed, I walked to my house from my office, and I stayed in my house and contemplated for 1 week. I couldn't believe this happened. This was the biggest event in my lifetime. He said, you have no idea. And I was told that by 1 or 2 other leaders too, something very similar. And we took him out. And I think that's one of the reasons that I had no problem with Iran. Iran was broke when I was there. Not when I started, but when I finished. I told China, if you give Iran $1 for oil, they have a lot of oil, if you purchase any oil, you're not doing business with the United States. And any business that gets through, we're going to tariff or tax you at 100%. So China didn't buy. I mean, you can look at this. You got to look at the numbers. They went down. I had them down to almost nothing. And by the time I left, and then we had the election, and had that election not been rigged and stolen, and which it was, had that election not been rigged and stolen, had the election been fair, you would have never had a problem for 2 reasons. Number one, they didn't have the money, but you would have had a deal. They wanted to make a deal. They were going to make a deal. They were broke. They said the other day, one of the commentators, who was not a Trump guy at all, a very liberal guy, but he said, whether you like him or not, Iran was, he broke them. But he said they were broke. They didn't have any money. And you remember reading about it. They couldn't give Hamas any money. They couldn't give Hezbollah any money because they didn't have any money. Now they've got $100 billion plus $6 billion for a wonderful deal we made on, think of the deal that we made. 5 hostages, 5 hostages. I said, no. But then they said, well, that's not all. It's 5 and 5, but they get $6 billion. Think of it. Just think how stupid. But the $6 billion is peanuts compared to the oil. You know, the $6 billion, it plays well, it reads well, and it's simple to understand, although nobody would do the deal. How stupid. By the way, when they made that deal, I said, you're going to have now hostages captured all over the world. Because once you agreed, you know, I did 58 hostages. I got 58 people back, 4 of them from North Korea. That's tough. I got 58 hostages back for no money. We never paid money. Because once you pay money, you set a precedent where they're going to do it again and again and again. So it was a big thing. And when I tell you the story about the prime minister, I don't think I've told that story to a large group, but I tell you about the prime minister. He thought it was the biggest event of his life. He never thought this could happen. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military, created Space Force, and I was the first president in decades who didn't start a war. Instead, I got us out of those endless wars and brought our troops back home. And with the historic Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. We had peace. We got the Abraham Accords. We would have had just about every country signed up within months after the election. And you know how many countries they've added to the Abraham Accords? None. Not a country. Because they're incompetent. Look, Biden is the most corrupt and most incompetent president in the history of our country. And you know, until I got indicted, because once you get it, I get indicted for for this nonsense. Even every legal scholar says these indictments, and they're not indictments, they're political opponent indictments. Political opponent. People forget that. They say, oh, Donald Trump is going to court. No. And even the ones at a state level or a city level, he put his people, meaning they put their people, Garland and the young woman that works right under him, who's a big friend of Weissman. You know, Weissman, they've been after me for years, and that's fine. So far, they haven't done too well. I became president, and they said, man, they couldn't believe it. You know, they said, we can never let this happen again. And that's what they did. That's how they cheated. We can never let this happen again. But we're going to have it happen this time. It's going to be the biggest election in history. But we got to be careful. We got to be careful. 2024 will be the biggest election in history. Will be the biggest. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, because it's we are going to win it, I'll have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It should have never started, but I'll get it settled. I know them both very well. Good relationship with very, very good relationship with both. It's got to get settled. The human lives, the number of lives being lost is far greater than what you're hearing. When you see buildings like that coming down, the number of lives being lost is far greater than anybody knows. We'll get that settled before I even get into the Oval Office. We will get it settled. To protect our citizens from foreign threats, I will build a state-of-the-art missile defense shield. You know, we have a lot of crazy people out there, and they're willing to do. And we actually have that technology now. It's our technology, by the way, but you see how it works in Israel, where they shoot down like 98% of the missiles. They're like shooting needles in the sky. It's incredible, the talent. And today, really, to be a great shot, you're better if you went to MIT than if you lift weights all day long, you know? But it's incredible when you see these guys in action. They're shooting down these little missiles in the sky, and they shoot them down. They didn't have that. You know, Ronald Reagan wanted to do that, but we really didn't have the technology, even close then. But now we have the most incredible technology. Much of it is in New Hampshire, by the way. You know, you have a lot of that technology right here. But we're gonna build a great. Remember when Russia was going crazy over it? They hated the fact that we were doing it because it meant they had to build much more, and put a lot of pressure on Reagan. Reagan was a really good president, except on trade. I disagreed with him on trade, but he was a very good president and had a great way about him, right? It was like your father in the White House, and it was good, but he was excellent. And he wanted to do that years ago, but we really didn't have the technology. Today we do. And, you know, it's okay to spend a lot of money to defend. If somebody goes crazy from some country, if we can shoot that missile down, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And we're creating jobs in our own country, and it's jobs for things that are very important. I will end Joe Biden's disastrous war on American energy and unleash the most powerful economic weapon. It's called drilling for oil, or as I call it, liquid gold, or as I say sometimes, drill, baby, drill, right? Drill, baby, drill. We have more liquid gold than anybody. And it's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. You got to watch, you know, we're going to have a lot of votes. We're going to have plenty of votes. The big thing that we all fear, everybody in this room fears, is the way they cheat on elections. It's the second most question. I think the first question I get from people come up and talk, and they say, sir, could I ask you a question? Yes. How do you take it? That's my first question. Because this isn't supposed to happen to a former president who's very popular. I got 75 million votes. And that's their count, okay, which is a phony count. But I got votes, more votes than any sitting president in history. And I went from 63 to 75. That's the biggest increase. There's never been a president. Most presidents, like Obama, got less the second time by millions. Others get... Who said that? Who said that? And by the way, somebody else said something. They said, this man said something he shouldn't say. I will defend. He said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. You cannot say that, sir. You can. Please take that back. Please take that back. No. He said Chris Christie's a fat pig. You cannot do that. This is a tough group. This is a tough group. Anyway, they're weaponizing. You know, the beauty of that is, you know, he said that, and I'm correcting him, but the beauty of that is the fake news. You know, you're not allowed to use the fat word, and you're probably not allowed to use the pig word, right? The beauty of that is that the press can't really do anything because I'm defending him. They can't do anything, so, you know, so it's sort of interesting the way that works out. They can't really write the story because I'm defending the fact that you can't use the word fat pig when you describe Chris Christie. He's not a fat pig. For purposes of, he is not a fat pig. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls. You know, I don't know if you've been seeing the polls. The polls are going through the roof. And I think you like me the way you've liked me. We've had a great love affair. But what you're seeing now is something that you've never seen before. Now you're seeing the most incompetent people in the history of our country running this country with open borders and all of the things they're doing. You know, your taxes are going to go up 4 times. Your energy prices have gone through the roof. All of the inflation that would have never happened. It was caused by energy. With me, you were going to have low energy, so you would have never had any inflation. We had no inflation. We had the best economy in history. But, you know, it's going up. So when you see, it's no longer just you like me and you like my policies. You see what's happened to this country, the stupidity, the fact that maybe, in a way, one of the most important things, we're not respected anymore in the world. They laugh at us. They think this guy, and again, I would have never talked about him with this disrespect until they indicted me. Once they indicted me, I said, I mean, it can't happen. And they indicted me for nothing. They indicted me for criticizing the election. They indicted me for things, and virtually every legal scholar you read says, how can it happen? They got me in New York, where my company turned out to be a great company instead of a bad company. They indicted me because they said I inflated numbers, and my numbers, it turned out, were extremely conservative, just the opposite of what. And now they don't know what to do. And the judge is being made to look, he's a radical left person, and he actually accused me of something before the trial started. And now it's sort of coming home to play. We'll see what happens, but it's a disgrace. So when they did that, and you know, they're using state people like this AG, Letitia James, she's a disaster. No, she's a disaster. She's grossly incompetent. What she does is, and she campaigned for a year. I will get Trump, I will get him, knowing nothing about me. Her whole campaign, many candidates, she got a few votes, and it was more than anybody else. She becomes the Attorney General of New York, right? And she campaigned on this, didn't know a thing about me, and then gets witnesses that have now been, they lied. The one witness, their star witness, he lied so badly, they don't even know what's going to happen. He totally made up the story, and he admitted it. It was a Perry Mason moment. At the end, where Perry Mason, do you mean? And then some guy walks into the courthouse, he looks, he goes, oh, I did it, I killed him, I killed him. And that's the end of the show. I had that live in New York last week. The star witness against me lied and then said all the things that he said about me are false. Can you believe it? So we say, we want a directed verdict. I won't give that to you. The whole thing is crazy. But you know what? The people get it. And that's why our poll numbers are high. I'm the only person in history that got indicted that saw about a 30% rise in my poll numbers. Usually, you know, we were doing fine before. Usually you get indicted, you're a politician, you get indicted, and about within 5 minutes you're at a microphone. I've decided I will go home to my family, and I will be with my family, and I will fight for my name and my reputation. Okay, you know, all that. And that's the end. That's the last time you ever hear from the poor person. With me, it's like, I said, how are we doing? Sure, your poll numbers went up 14 points today. You know why? Because I explain it to people, and they get it. This is a political opponent hitting his political opponent. And it's never happened in this country before. It has happened in many other countries, third world nations, banana republics. But the people get it. I mean, I have a judge in Washington, D.C., who put a gag order on me. I cannot speak. So if the fake news asks me a question about like something, I cannot speak. I'm sorry. How do you think that would be in a campaign? You're watching, what do you think about the campaign? I'm sorry, I can't comment. She put a gag order, then it's been taken off by the appellate division. But you got to count it. But think of it. They do things like this, but she sets a trial date. This could not be. One day before Super Tuesday. Now, you know Super Tuesday is a big day. Now, to me, the big day is Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. Because I think this whole thing might be, you know, we're up about 42 points here. We're up 44 points in Iowa, I think 44 points something. How can the farmers vote against me? I got them $28 billion from China. Nobody else would have done that. I got the farmers of Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, all these states, $28 billion because they were abused by China for so many years. I said, what was the number to Sonny Perdue, Commissioner of Agriculture in the United States, under me, good guy. He said about 28 billion. I got the money from China out of the tariffs that I got, which was many times that number. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. I gave our farmers $28 billion. Nobody can believe it. Then my people say, please don't be so arrogant about it. I say, what's arrogant? I got them 28. They're not going to vote against me. And that's exactly what's turning out. I told that to Iowa the other day, and they were all laughing. But it's true. I got them $28 billion that they got screwed out of by China with really bad things they did to our farmers. And what farmer is going to vote against me for some stiff that was never for them? Like tens of millions of, and I'm not wearing lifts either, by the way. I don't have 6-inch heels. Actually, the greatest moment of the debate when Ron DeSanctimonious was walking off the stage, and his feet, it's weird, because there's cowboy boots. So they have a high heel outside, but inside you got a big deal going on. And he's walking like... No, he's walking off the stage like he's trying to balance himself. I thought he was wearing ice skates. No. What difference does it make, right? What difference? When you think about it, what difference does it make? Like tens of millions of people within our nation, I'm proud and strong. I'm a very proud election denier, because unless the truth is found, we will never have fair, free, and honest elections, and we have to have them. And again, for the first time in American history, a sitting administration has charged its only opponent, I think. I guess you could say leading, but I think it's only. I hope that's correct. But its opponent with criminal offenses. Think of it. Now, that means that I could do that, too. I'll be in the White House. I don't want to do that. I wouldn't do that. But you know what? I'll be sitting there, and they'll say, sir, there's a Democrat who's surging. I say, really? Well, you know, they did it to me. Now I can do it to them. Indict him for walking across the street in an improper manner. And when he gets indicted, he'll go right down the tubes, because they don't have much of a platform. Now, it's a very bad precedent that they're starting. It's sort of like we talked about with the hostage stuff, where they get paid $6 billion. You know, you set a precedent. Well, this is a precedent that maybe in a certain way is much worse than that. I did a great job, and I got indicted. So when I never used to say he's a stone-cold crook. He's the most grossly incompetent president. And now I say it, and I'm saying the truth. Because I had too much respect for the office of president, aware that its charges are bogus. Think of it, this was all bogus stuff. The prosecution has sought to proceed in secret, forcing the nation and the world to rely on biased second-hand accounts coming from the corrupt Biden administration and its media allies, people like that. You know, the funny thing, their numbers are way down, And they said they had the greatest numbers they've ever had during the Trump administration. If I were the media, now they're all going bankrupt. If I were the media, you know what I'd do? I'd hope that Trump wins, because during the Trump administration, that was the golden 4 years. Now I just saw where the New York Times is way down. They're all way down. Washington Post is way down. I don't even know. You know, at what point do you say you could be rich, but at what point, if you're going to lose $100 million a year for the privilege of having a newspaper that's losing that kind of money, you know, at what point do you say, I'm not going to do this anymore? But the Washington Post is way down. They're all down. And they were all up. During my 4 years, now they were up with fake stories like Russia, 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 you know, the Mueller, all the different hoaxes. And we had plenty of them. But they were doing great. Now they're way down, and, you know, because they're not believed anymore. You know, that's the problem. When I started running, they had a very high approval rating, and I think it's one of the greatest things I've done. I've told people that they're corrupt and they're dishonest, and they have to straighten out their act because people are not believing them. And when you don't have a free press, and when you don't believe your press, you've got yourself a very big problem in the country. But as a result, the citizens of our great country are unable to review for themselves the facts of this case and show. So it's so unfair. And I look at it, and when you think about, you got treated this way by your political opponent. So when you hear Trump is facing a lawsuit, remember, this is a Biden lawsuit. This was Biden. He took his top person from the Department of Justice and put him into the local New York Manhattan DA's office, running it. You're not even allowed to do that. But they took the top person, as you know, I believe the name is Colangelo. They took the top person, they put him into the Manhattan DA's office, Colangelo. And this guy was in Washington, D.C., working for Garland, and now he's in this office, and even signing checks in the papers. This is a terrible thing that's happened. And I don't even know, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if Biden knows. But the people in his office knows, like Lisa Monaco and other people, they know what's going on. You know, they're friends with some very bad people. But it's a very bad precedent, it's very dangerous. And again, such a thing has never happened in our country. I've made clear from the outset, the prosecution has repeatedly denied me my fundamental constitutional rights, including my right to have a trial. I want the trial. I announced last night, you probably saw it. They said, sir, do you want a trial with or without cameras? Now, most people would say without. I say the opposite. I want this trial to be seen by everybody in the world. The prosecution wishes to continue this travesty in darkness, and I want sunlight. That's a nice way of saying it. Isn't that pretty? I want sunlight. I want everything exposed to the public, including the election fraud, because this is all about election fraud, which took place in 2020 and the 2020 presidential election, so that such a thing can never happen again to our country. You know, we want paper ballots. We want same-day voting. That's what we want. And we don't want mail-in voting. And we want one-day voting. You know, these things that last for 48 days, and you see them wheeling things with wheelbarrows, dumping them, ballots. No, what we want is we want one-day voting, we want paper ballots, or we want voter ID. You know, they just did it in France. France had mail-in ballots. Look, mail-in ballots, you know, are going to be corrupt. Even Jimmy Carter had a commission. He said, if you have mail-in ballots, you're going to have massive corruption, and we don't want that. But every person in America is beyond and should have the opportunity to study this case firsthand. It's to be, oh, this will be very good for the networks. They should want it. But I can tell you, the prosecutors don't want it, and the judge doesn't want it, if you can't believe it. And they watch it, and if there's a trial, because I should not even have a trial. This should be thrown out long before. But if there's a trial, I want everybody to see all of the horrible things that took place, all of the horrible charges, and all of the things that were done with respect to a very corrupt election. And let's let the public decide, because I want cameras in every inch of that courthouse. And we've asked the judge in Washington, D.C., we've asked her to be recused because she hates me. You know, is that a good reason? I think so, right? No, the judge truly, truly hates me. She is a Trump hater at the highest level, so we've asked for her recusal. She's denied it, and we're appealing that. And we'll definitely be asking for a venue change, D.C., especially in light of the fact that I want a federal government takeover of our capital so that we can fix our capital. It's dirty, it's filthy, it's crime-ridden. People are being murdered every day. It's incompetently run. And I want to do that, and certainly that would not be very popular with a jury of residents. They're not going to be thrilled. We have deranged Jack Smith. Have you ever heard of him? He's a lovely man. Do you ever see him with the purple little thing? He's a lovely man. The Trump-hating prosecutor in the case, his wife and family despise me much more than he does, and he decides, I think he's about a 10. They're about a 15 on a scale of 10. And he was involved, you know, Jack Smith, the deranged one, I call him. He was involved, crooked guy. He was involved with the failed and very messy Lois Lerner IRS scandal. Did you know that? And the prosecution of Governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, which was overturned unanimously by the Supreme Court, as well as the failed prosecution of presidential candidate John Edwards. And he's charged. What he did is horrible, but they got him in. They brought him back from The Hague, and they said, go get Trump. It's a terrible thing that's happening in America. But, and he's a disgrace to America. They want to silence me because I know the truth, and I'm not afraid to say it. Their goal is intimidation of everybody at the highest level. But I really don't care. I don't care. I just want to do what's right for the country. I didn't need this. You know, when I did this, somebody said the other day, are you glad you did it? Because I had a hell of a life. I had the most beautiful life. I don't think I could do whatever I want, the best properties, the best resorts. I could have had the greatest time. Instead, I'm here on a Saturday afternoon with you, working my ass off. Working my ass off up here. No, I had a good life. But I was asked a question. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. But I was asked a question, a lot actually, but I was asked this question. If you had it to do again, with all I've been through, I mean, I got indicted more than Al Capone. Did you ever hear of Al Capone? Scarface. He was the meanest of all gangsters. If he had dinner with you and you looked at him in the wrong way, you looked at him like you smiled and you were mocking him, you were a dead person. Alphonse Capone, Scarface. He got indicted one time. I got indicted 4 times. And I have other trials, too. You know, I have other civil trials I have to go through. This is a terrible thing. Nobody's ever done it before. But they asked me, if you had it to do, you had such a great life. If you had it to do again, would you do it? I didn't even hesitate. I said, absolutely, because we made America great again, and we're going to make it even greater. You know, there are a lot of rich guys around that didn't do much, and they whatever. But no, I would do it again in a heartbeat. People find that hard to believe. And one thing, I think I've kept a lot of rich people out of politics. You know, I used to have guys say, smart guys. I used to, one guy said, oh, I want to do it so much. I want to do it so much. I'm going to do a very successful guy, killer, really successful. He said, but I have one problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, I have stage fright. I said, if you have stage fright, don't become a politician. Don't. I think I saved him a lot of anguish. But they asked me, would you do it again? I said, absolutely. I said it without even thinking. Absolutely, I would do it again. Because what we did is miracles. Don't forget, this is the greatest movement of all time. There's never been anything like this. Never been anything like this. There's never been a movement in probably anywhere, but in this country certainly, but probably anywhere because of the importance of this country. But you remember Pat Buchanan, how well he did 50 years ago in New Hampshire, right? And because he almost won, right? He came in second, I think, right? But he did very well against an incumbent. And I think, did he come in second? Does anybody remember? It was a long time ago. But anyway, I think he came in second. And he became legendary for the rest of his life and very successful and, you know, one of the greatest political pundits, good man. But we won every state. Think of it. Every single state. We came out in 2016 and just state after state after state. We won we won South Carolina. Remember, I was going to go down to South Carolina. They said, oh, he'll never win South Carolina because Bush is very close to the military. Bush did nothing for the military. And then I won by like 70%. 70%. And then we went up to Nevada. And then we went to Florida, and I had two people. I had a senator, right? And I had a governor. And I had both of them. And I said, this is not good because, and they had a thing that if you win, winner take all. So I said, I don't want winner take all because we had Bush was the governor. We had Marco is the senator, sitting senator. I said, that's a lot to compete with. I don't want to do that because, you know, give us our proportion. If I'm at 10% or 5%, at least let me have that. So I was all set to sue, and a poll came out, and it said Trump would win Florida by 70%. Marco would get 11, and Bush would get 9. I said, stop the lawsuit immediately. Stop that lawsuit. But every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it truly a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. I am being indicted for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, ladies. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in their way. I'm standing in their way. This is far more than a campaign. This is far more than a campaign. We're all involved in a great political movement, the greatest such movement ever in the history of our country. I mean, there's never been a movement like this, not even close. And now it looks, I mean, if you look at the polls, we're winning every swing state. We're winning states that nobody's even thought about. After years of betrayals of New Hampshire workers, together we ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, that's Mexico and Canada, the best trade deal ever made. I appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. We achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built over 500 miles of border wall. They like to say, oh, it was less. It's not. It's much more than that. And we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. So when they say about Mexico, I saw some guy in the debate say, oh, Mexico gave us 28,000 soldiers. They said they're going to pay for the wall, but there was no mechanism for that. You know, sometimes you don't have. I said, you got to give us soldiers. You got to give us. Right now, we have the biggest caravans in history coming up. Right now, they're coming up. I got them to give us free of charge 28,000 soldiers. Now, I didn't tell you. I said to them, if you don't do that, we're going to tariff every product that you sell into the United States at approximately 25%. And they said, we would love to give you those soldiers. On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. Stop the invasion. This is an invasion. This is like a military invasion. We'll stop the invasion on our southern border and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, which was a big thing. You know, we had no terror during my administration. The only terror we had was Nancy Pelosi, who's a crazed lunatic. She's a lunatic. She is a crazed lunatic. What the hell was going on with her husband? Let's not ask. Let's not ask. I'll withdraw that statement. By the way, she's got a wall around her house. Obviously, in that case, it didn't work very well, did it? It didn't work. And I'll implement strong and ideological screenings for all immigrants. And if you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists and people that hate our country because they're not getting in, then we will stop, because then you have to just go for the other side. If you hate America, you have to go for the other side. We will stop Joe Biden's inflation disaster immediately and rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had that. And unlike Ron DeSanctimonious, who wants a 23% national sales tax on everybody in this room, which would devastate New Hampshire, would devastate your economy, would go to hell, I'll give you tax cuts, regulation cuts, interest rate cuts like you've never seen before. You know, I gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country, larger than the Reagan tax cuts, and I gave you the largest regulation cuts. That's why we had the best job numbers ever. I will approve pipelines and infrastructure to cut through the cost of energy. And, you know, if you had a pipeline going through New York State, your energy costs will be less than half. Do you know that? And they couldn't. Do you know that? You have the highest energy costs in the nation. Your governor ought to work on that one, too. You pay more than any other state in the nation. And with a simple pipeline going through New York State, your energy costs would be cut in less than half. You would get all the energy you need, but they can't get it done. And I had it just about done until COVID came in. I had it done, but I had to get Democrat approval. And you would have had it, but we'll get it done very quickly, very, very quickly. Unlike Ron DeSantis, the other day on NBC, they said, ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to have as our guest Governor Ron DeSantis. That's called great branding, when you brand a guy so strong that they don't even know what his name is anymore. Unlike DeSantis, I will protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors. He was not good on Social Security and Medicare. On day one, I'll sign a new executive order to cut federal funding of any school pushing critical race theory, transgender. No, but can you believe you even have to say it? Pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. How about we will stop the sexual mutilation of your children? Can you believe? No. Can you believe you have to say that? Can you imagine if somebody got up here 15 years ago and made the statement, we will stop the sexual mutilation of your children? They'll say, is this guy... No, we will stop it. Can you believe this, that you have to say it? I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And the other thing, and I said it, I alluded to it before, but who would ever think that this is even a possibility? I will keep men immediately out of women's sports. Can you believe it? That you have to say that. It's embarrassing to say it because people, you know, people from 20 years ago, if they came back 30 years ago, probably 10 years ago, if they came back and heard some of the things that I'm saying we're going to do, they're going to say, that place has really gone bad. I will fully uphold the Second Amendment as I did. Not a change was made. And I will continue to protect innocent life. We will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections once and for all, and we will do it properly. And in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Israel is under attack. Our economy is cratering. Inflation is totally out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition like probably we've never seen before. Our currency is crashing. I will soon no longer think of it. It's soon going to not be the world standard based on what's happening right now, which will be the greatest defeat. Once our currency is no longer the world standard, that will be the greatest defeat that we've had as a country in 200 years. Then we will revert to third world status. It won't happen with me, not even a little chance, just like Russia would never have invaded Ukraine. China would not even have thought about raiding Taiwan. and the attack on Israel would never have happened, Again, Iran had no money. They were broke. We would have left Afghanistan with dignity and strength instead of our greatest embarrassment in history with the loss, and I'm so sorry, but the loss of your children and your family. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in serious decline, and now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we will not let it happen. If you want to save America from Crooked Joe and then get you have to go out, you have to really do it. We have to do it. You know, the one way we win like you've never seen before, we have to slam it on Election Day. We have to come up with votes. Because there's a point at which they're cheating, can't get it done. There's a point at which the cheating can't get it done. So get every patriot you know and get them out to deliver a massive victory in the primary. But honestly, more importantly, in the election, the primary. Let's get the primary done first. We'll be back here many times, but we got to get the primary done first. So join our campaign by visiting nh.donaldjtrump.com or text Trump to 88022. Okay? 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, and you've been at my side from the beginning, we will demolish the deep state. we're going to expel those horrible, horrible warmongers from our government. They want to fight everybody. They want to kill people all over the place, places we've never heard about before, places that want to be left alone. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media until they become real. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job that we started better than anybody has ever started a job before. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. You're going to be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first. And today, especially in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. And they didn't. Despite the hatred and anger of the radical left lunatics who want to destroy our country, we will make America great again. Thank you, New Hampshire. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.